Hi, welcome to the Gemara on Lamed Aleph Amud Bet. We're starting about 5 lines up from the bottom. Tana Rabbanan, Makom shemafsikin b'Shabbat, shacharit, sham korin b'mincha. The place where we stop reading when we read Torah in Shul Shabbat morning, that is where we begin the reading for mincha. B'mincha, sham korin b'sheni. And the place where we finish reading the Torah portion Shabbat mincha, the end of that is where we start on Monday. B'sheni, sham korin b'chamishi. And where we end off on Monday, the end of Monday's Torah reading, that's where we start on Thursday. B'chamishi, sham korin l'Shabbat haba'ah. And where we end off on Thursday, that's where we begin the Torah reading the coming Shabbat. Divrei Rabbi Meir. All of that is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. All of that is part of the Braita. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Makom shemafsikin b'Shabbat shacharit, sham korin b'mincha. Rabbi Yehuda says, the place where we stop reading on Shabbat morning, right after davening on Shabbat, the place where we pause in the Torah reading, that's where we start reading Shabbat mincha. So we finish that week's Torah portion Shabbat morning, and we start the following week's Torah portion Shabbat mincha. V'sheni v'chamishi l'Shabbat haba'ah. And also that's where we start on Monday and Thursday and on the coming Shabbat. Amar Rabbi Zera, halacha makom shemafsikin b'Shabbat, shacharit, sham korin b'mincha, u'b'sheni u'v'chamishi l'Shabbat haba'ah. Rabbi Zera says the halacha is that the place where we stop Shabbat morning, the place where we end off the Torah reading, that's where we read from for mincha on Shabbat, and that's where we read from on Monday, and that's where we read from on Thursday, and that's also our starting point the following Shabbat. V'lema halacha k'Rabbi Yehuda, and say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Zera has just told us that the halacha is in fact in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, so why not just say that? It would be a much shorter way to state the halacha. Why give us the whole opinion again? Mishum da'afchelahu, because people switch it. Mishum da'afchelahu, people flip the opinions. In other words, there are people who have corrupted versions of the Braita, in which Rabbi Yehuda's position is recorded as Rabbi Meir's and vice versa. So if you just say that it's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, you might wind up with the wrong psak halacha. Rabbi Zera wanted to be very clear which way he's paskening. Tana Rabbanan, Potech v'ro'eh, golel u'mevarech, v'chozer potech v'koreh. Divrei Rabbi Meir. One should open the Torah, one who is called up for an aliyah to read from the Torah, opens the Torah scroll, rolls it apart, sees where it is that the reading starts, golel, rolls it back together, makes the bracha, and then goes back and opens the Torah scroll again and reads from the Torah. That's Rabbi Meir's position. That's how Rabbi Meir would lay out the way it works when you have an aliyah. And remember, in those days, the person who had the aliyah was also the person who was reading Torah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Potech v'ro'eh, you open the Torah scroll and you see where you're up to, u'mevarech v'koreh, and then you bless and you read. So his procedure is shorter than Rabbi Meir's. This is all the Braita. My time is Rabbi Meir. What's Rabbi Meir's reasoning? Why does he think that you should do it this way? Kidu Ula. It's in accordance with the position of Ula. Ze'amar Ula. Mipnei ma amru hakoreh b'Torah lo yisayel b'Torgaman. Why did they say, why is there a rule that the person reading Torah can't help out the Metorgaman, the translator? Again, going back to the days when there was Torah reading and there was simultaneous translation, but the person reading Torah wasn't allowed to kind of like fill in a word for the translator. So why is that the case? Kidei shelo yamru targum katuv b'Torah, so that people won't say that translations are written in the Torah. Hachanami, here too, kidei shelo yamru brachot ktuvin b'Torah, so that people won't say that the blessings are written in the Torah. In other words, Rabbi Meir always has you close the Torah before you make the bracha, so that it will be very obvious to people that the brachot are not written in the Torah, and so you close the Torah scroll, you couldn't possibly be reading from it, you make the bracha, and only then do you open it again and read. For Rabbi Yehuda, and what about Rabbi Yehuda? Does he not have this problem? Is he not worried about the brachot being written, people thinking the brachot are written in the Torah? Targum ikalamitai, brachot leikalamitai. Rabbi Yehuda thinks that when it comes to Targum, when it comes to the translation of the Torah, people could make a mistake. But when it comes to brachot, people won't make a mistake. And Rashi explains, ikalamitai, the Omer Targum katuv b'Torah. People might actually say that the Targum is written in the Torah. Like they might actually think that the translation of the Torah is written in the Torah. Targum b'Torah. And then they might come someday to write Targum into the Torah. But brachot, everybody knows that brachot aren't written in the Torah. Everyone's able to distinguish between brachot and Torah reading, and no one's going to make that mistake, and that's why Rabbi Yehuda has this more permissive approach. Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Rav Matna, halacha poter v'roeh u'mevarech v'koreh. The halacha is that you open the Torah, you see where you're starting from, you make the bracha, and then you read. No need to close and open again. V'lema halacha k'Rabbi Yehuda. So let's just say the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. Why repeat the whole opinion? Mishum da'afchelahu. Same reason as before, because you might come to switch it. People might not know which opinion is attributed to whom, so in order to avoid any confusion, we say the actual position that we're paskening like. Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Rav Matna. Another statement, sort of unrelated, but from the same series of people. Haluchot v'habimot ein behen mishum kedusha. Boards and bimot, platforms, do not have kedusha. What are these boards and these platforms? Rashi says, haluchot, lo yadati mahen. I don't really know what they are. V'yesh mefarshin hen hasuyin l'sfarim shalanu, she'inanu asuyin b'gilayon. These are things that are made for our books, which aren't scrolls, but are rather books. It's like book covers that are made of boards. So instead of a hardcover book, the hardness of the cover would be made of wood. That's what Rashi thinks it might be. And bimot, or bima, Rashi says, Shahayu osin lamelech b'parshat hamelech kedavrin b'masechet sota. The bima is the platform that they would make for the king to read what's called parshat hamelech. The king would read from the Torah at the Hakel ceremony. And so that platform that he would stand on, that also has no kedusha. Going on in the Gemara, Amar Rav Shefatia, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hagolel Sefer Torah, one who's rolling a Sefer Torah, Tzarich shi'amidenu al hatefer. You have to stop it on the seam, meaning you have to position it so that the seam between two rolls of parchment is centered between the two rolls of the scroll. Either because Rashi suggests that this is just like a good place to tighten it. That's the best way for tightening. And the other opinion, which is also common sense, is that if the Torah scroll were to tear while it was being tightened, it'd be better for it to tear obviously down a seam than in the middle of a piece of parchment. So we always put a seam in the middle when we do Galila, when we roll the Torah. V'amar Rav Shvatia Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hagolel Sefer Torah, gololo mi bachutz, ve'in gololo mi bifnim. Someone who rolls a Sefer Torah, rolls it from, I'll translate literally and then I'll explain, rolls it from the outside and doesn't roll it from the inside. I'll finish the sentence and then I'll explain more. And when the person tightens it, you tighten it from the inner roll and not from the outer roll. So Rashi explains, and I'll just look at Rashi, but I'll say it outside. But you have the Rashi on Golel Sefer Torah, mi'inyan li'inyan. So you're rolling the Torah to get from one topic to another, right? You need to get to like the next parsha or something. V'hu yachid. This is important, and according to Rashi, the way to understand this Gemara is that the person's doing it by themselves, which is not the ideal way to roll a Sefer Torah. But in this case, Rashi says you're doing it by yourself. So what you do is you put the Torah scroll on your knees, Sefer Torah Munach al Birkav, and you roll it from the outer scroll. So like the one scroll is on your lap closest to your body, the other one's farther away, and you roll from the outside one, because if you rolled from the inside one, the one on the outside, the one that's like closer to your knees and farther from your body, could roll off and fall down. And then the thing about sealing it, when Rashi says Kishumad Ko, when you're ready to tighten it, so you're finished rolling it, and now you want to tighten it, you have to hold on to the inner scroll part, the inner wooden piece, and you roll the inner one towards the outer one, and then you tighten it, then you fasten it closed. Because if you went from the outer one to the inner one, then your arms would cover the Torah, right? You're reaching over the Torah scroll, so you're covering the Torah, and it's a mitzvah to show the Torah to other people and not to sort of cover it up and block it from people's view. That's the end of that statement of the Gemara, and we'll stop there.